Okay, we will start. Again, my name is Maria Thaler. I am an ECM specialist with Orienge. Today's webinar topic is HR tools for applicant and employee management, and is a continuation for the Orienge webinar series named the Practical Side of ECM. You may find other recorded webinars on www.orienge.com. The main part of this webinar will take about 35 minutes. And after that, you will have for about 10 minutes for questions and answers. We plan to finish today at about 2 p.m. Eastern. And if someone will have problems during the webinar, text me in chat window, please, or raise your hand. And now I'm happy to introduce our presenter, Daniel Shields. Dan is the president and CEO of Orienge. He also has over 30 years information management experience, including being a part of a team that was awarded workflow patents in the early 1980s. Dan and Orienge's head architect, Dmitry Karatayev, had lead our HR business solution project. Dan, microphone is yours.
Thank you, Maria, and thank you everybody for joining us today. We'd like to take a little bit of time up front just to talk about what we're going to talk about. The title for today's webinar is HR Tools for Applicant and Employee Management. What we'll be talking about today specifically is the introductions already covered. We're going to give a best practices summary at the beginning of our presentation so that it gives everybody a chance to see the best practices in action as we pursue a webinar case scenario where a CEO of a specific company is going to task the HR manager to actually try and solve some problems that they're having in their company around applicants and employees. We will do this via demonstration. We'll take some questions and answers and get you on your way sharply at 2 o'clock. So thanks again for your time. Let's get started here. The best practice summary. We, in the practical series that we do at Orienge, always like to break down to very simple best practices. Best practices being tools, techniques, and methods that you can use to help manage your business in a repeatable way. The three best practices that we're going to be talking about today are best practice number 1, the basics of data entry, specifically don't enter data twice. Number 2, control the full employment life cycle. Number 3, utilize collaboration for efficient control and approval. I think the first best practice is fairly obvious. You would like to take data from external sources to populate your database and or reference list that you're keeping. You would like to utilize that trusted data once it's in your databases and reference lists to pre-fill and to make smart decisions moving forward. Best practice number 2, controlling the full employment life cycle. We all know, because we have a bunch of HR managers on this call, that you're responsible to manage potential employees, i.e. people who are applicants trying to become employees of the company. You must onboard them and then manage them when they're active employees. And then in some cases, people retire, people leave, and they become inactive. You must be able to manage your employees in all of these stages. Along these stages, you must be able to track and make accessible all of the appropriate data. You must be able to control the processes associated with the people who are in these stages, and you must effectively pass and share data between the stages. Third best practice, utilizing collaboration for efficient control and approval. Obviously, collaboration in the world of enterprise content management equals workflow, and you need a compliant industry solution for workflow. You need to be able to create standard routes that will be used over and over in a recurring method, and of course be able to create ad hoc routes if you want to speed things up, and it needs to be a controllable environment with tools that give you the ability to set deadlines and to check status, etc. So these are our 3 best practices today. Let's look at the problem that we're going to try and solve. For the sake of this presentation, even though my voice is a little deep, I'm going to be Wendy Moore, the HR manager of a company called Radiotech. Radiotech uses an enterprise content management piece of software called Contera from Orienge, and they're using version 2.1 of that solution. It's a very powerful ECM system. Wendy's direct boss is James Smith, the CEO. Wendy has received a task from the CEO, and we're going to start with his main task, go to the demonstration that is actually Contera, and then we'll come back and look at the secondary task. Her main task: do a better job of managing the applicant process, including getting the department heads involved. In the past, before they obtained the ECM solution, Wendy was using Excel and many files in her drawers and many files in her cabinets and trying to remind herself with Outlook Smartly, doing the best that she could, but there was no control. It was semi-chaotic. People were coming to her all the time asking for special reports and statuses on applicants and statuses on job offers, and the CEO was very frustrated with this. So along with some other issues that they had in terms of basic document management, they implemented the ECM system of Contera, and we're going to go there right now to see how she works. When we go there, there will be the following main characters, if you will. So I'm Wendy Moore, the HR manager. You saw my picture on the other page. There's an open job posting we're going to be managing for an ambulance driver. The head of the Radiotech ambulance driving department is Jane Flores. That's her on the left. The applicant named is Gerald Burns. He's there in the middle. And a current ambulance driver employee that we have that has already gone through all of the process that you see, and we'll show her from time to time, is Jane Q. Driver. All very handsome people. So let's go right to the demo. In this demonstration, you see that I'm on my desktop. I'm Wendy Moore, and I'm going to log in to the Contera Explorer. While there are many features of the Contera platform that I have available at my disposal, for this presentation I'm going to focus, laser focus, in on HR. This is an HR business solution that was created by the great people at Orienge, and you see many tools that can be used by Wendy Moore, the HR manager. She can either access them through the cover, or she can go directly to the list down below and get at them directly. For the sake of this demo, we're going to stay in the cover. Let's take a look. Our basic responsibility as HR managers is to manage employees. If I look employees, I've got all of my departments. I can look at any of these departments to grab an employee, so I'll click on a couple departments just to look at some other employees. There's the IT people, there's the engineering people, but I'm focusing in on drivers here. There's Jane Q. Driver. I told you that she was an employee. There's some interesting information, but this is a little bit too much for me. Can I just get a summary report? And I want to know everything about this person in one report. So there's the logistical data at the top, the title that she was hired at, the certifications that she came in with, and every single document associated with Jane. Now, best practice says that I'm managing Jane throughout her different stages of life cycle as an employee. Well, when she interviewed, there was a resume. When she interviewed, there was an application. There's an ongoing drug test. This came as an employee. There's a job offer that she got. Every document that was ever associated with her is available here in a very controlled manner. This is a powerful tool. We'll just take a quick look at the job offer that she got. We'll open this document in Contera. You can see that this document has 2 versions. The first version that was created when Wendy, me, the HR manager, sent the offer out, and then the executed version when she signed it. We'll take a quick look, and you can see this document down at the bottom. It's a fully executed version. Contera lets you manage multiple versions and with different document types. So let's go back. Okay. The task that I have as Wendy Moore is to manage the process of the applicants better. So I'm using this business solution first. What open job positions do we have? I take a look. I'm interested in the ambulance driver. We'll take a quick peek. I can see the date it was posted. Is it still open? The job description for it. If I want to see all of the employees who are actually have made it through this process, I can click on employees and I can see all of them. These are interesting tools just to show you that all the information about all these people should be readily accessible. We'll exit out of this. I know that I posted this job listing on our website, and the website has an application that we put together. So now I'm going to go check my Outlook to see if anybody has responded today, because Jane Flores, the director of the department, is really after me to get people. I see, in fact, I've got an email. This email contains 4 items. Let's look what they are. First is the application that was filled out from our website. The second is the cover letter. Third is the resume. The fourth is an EMT certificate. As you can see, this email was automatically generated from our website and sent to jobs@radiotech.com. Gerald has filled out this application, and we've never heard from Gerald before, so I'm going to grab this application, and you can see the form of it here with some interesting information. And I'm going to go out of this, and I'm going to ask Contera to basically bring this document into its repository so that we can work with it. So I'm going to grab the application. I'm going to say OK. The first best practice, just to remind you, was that the basics of data entry is not to enter data twice. Application is misspelled there, APP. The reality of this is that every document as it comes into an ECM must be classified, so you see us classifying. Now, here it is, and we need to populate our trusted database. So we're going to click populate, and it's going to go off, and you can go into detail to see what it got. Let's dig in there. See, it got the name, the position, social security number, telephone number, email, and some other information. And you also see that a communication log is started at the bottom. And this log will follow this candidate, this applicant, through every step that he goes through with us. Okay, now it's interesting. I loaded and populated his data. Now I'm going to go back and grab his related documents from the same email. We wanted to make sure that we created a record by which these other documents could be attached before we brought the other documents in. First one is the cover letter. You see it's doing some simple pre-fill of dates and names and other things. This is a good practice. You see resume, same process. And then lastly, we get the certificate, and we save it. Okay, now I'm going to exit here, and I'm going to look at my applicants. Now here's the applicants, but I'm interested in Gerald. Through one click, I see his information. I click on documents, and now I have his application, his resume, his cover letter, and the certificate. This data is automatically attached, if you will, to this record for Gerald, and will always be attached to him as he proceeds through any changes in the stages of his life cycle with us. Since I'm the first line of filtering, I must open the resume, and I must see, does this person meet the minimum requirements, and can I, if it's interesting, schedule an interview? I look first and see that he was an ambulance driver for ABC Corp. We actually know that corporation, and they hire good drivers. This is good. I see he was a truck driver before, but I'm really interested in education and other qualifications. I see that he graduated from high school, which is one of our requisites, and that he has an active EMTB certificate. This is critical, because we don't want to hire people that don't have active certificates. So this passes. So what I want to do right away then is to exit here. I want to start a workflow, a collaboration, a standard route of activities to kick off a review process called our applicant review. You see that it's automatically attached to his record if anybody in the path needs to get it. Let's take a quick peek at the scheme. And you can see it looks complicated, but it's really fairly simple. Across the top, if the candidate does not meet with the requirements, it goes to the right. Across the left, if in fact the candidate does meet our requirements, he gets scheduled for an interview. An interview happens, an interview report is done, and a job offer is made. That's the path we're going to go down for our demonstration. It just got started, and you can see Wendy thought it was interesting, and it got sent to Jane Flores, who is the head of the department for the drivers. She has the following options up on the top if she's to complete this task. She can review and say it's not qualified, or she can review and say it looks interesting and it is qualified. But how does she review? Well, I just showed you earlier that you can open, go to the documents, and just like Wendy did, you'd probably open the resume first and the certificate second, and she could go through and do the same review. For the sake of some speed here, let's assume she does this review and she says this is an interesting candidate. You see those two options in the complete basically give workflow a chance to go in different directions based on the logic that we've set up. Okay, she completes it, and now the first review has happened where the HR manager looked at it. My review happened where I looked at it and I thought it was interesting. We update this and see that there's now a task that creates a job to schedule an appointment. So it comes back to me, Wendy Moore, and it says you need to schedule an appointment for this. Okay, this is interesting. If I complete this, it won't actually let me out without saying what date did you set the interview for. We're going to set it for tomorrow, and we're going to say okay. And actually the logic is not perfect because we're going to complete it today. Okay. There then are two things that happen. Jane is tasked or is noticed that there is an interview, and then Wendy Moore, the HR person, am tasked to make the interview happen. At Radio Tech, now we see, as we move along these steps, there's something new over in the right-hand corner here. These are policies and procedures and reminders that take place each time that a review happens. So it's a reminder that you should have the resume printed. It's a reminder that you should create the interview report. It's a reminder that you should give your business card, and that you should be polite and have snacks and water and Diet Coke, my favorite, in the conference room. So let's go into the card, because we are reminded elegantly to create the interview report. So we'll create a blank report. I'm back to a best practice of data and pre-fill. So I collected the data, and I'm going to pre-fill this document. I didn't want to retype Gerald's name and the date and the position and who the interviewers were. This could be as robust as you want it to be. We're just using this example. What pre-fill doesn't do is answer the questions of your interview. So you would put comments in there. You would put comments in there, this is interesting, or it was interesting, whatever, and you would save this document. Notice that on the way out, we actually copied the link to this document. So we save it, and then we exit. Now, Wendy was tasked to conduct this interview, but the report must be prepared, which it just was, and it must be approved by the other person who attended. Now, we could just complete and keep going, and Jane, who gets the next step, could go into the applicant process. But to be efficient, we're going to paste the link into the screen so that now it's obvious that this document is right up in front and needs to be approved. We will complete our task. We'll assign some access rights. That's a complete another presentation that we're happy to talk to people about in terms of access rights, where certain people should have access to some of these results. We know that this is critical in some companies. Okay, so there's a notice that or there's a job that says, okay, here comes the document. Okay, what are my options? Wendy says she's done. I can either disqualify this candidate for whatever reason, and I can write comments down here if I choose to disqualify. I can consider this person for another position, or in fact, I can improve it and say, let's prepare a job offer. We need this driver, and it looks good. Okay. In my case, I'm going to say prepare the job offer. Okay. The task now was approved by Jane, who was the head of the department, and it comes back to me, Wendy Moore, and says, we need to make a job offer to this person. Now, she could have also said, here's some salary range guidance because it's a competitive market. Instead of paying the standard rate of $55,000 annually, I think we should offer 60 because we really need this driver now and it looks qualified. But clearly, me, Wendy Moore, my task right now is to create a job offer. Okay, well now this is a new document, so let me try and create a new document here. Create, I want to use the template for the job offer because the best practice is sitting there talking about pre-filling and not entering the data twice. Yes, it's a job offer. Now I must tell the pre-fill who my applicant is. I can either go here or I could have just typed GER. Okay, and this looks good. I can make comments if I want. I'm going to save it. And then I will see this job offer pre-filled in front of me. You see the barcode up in the right-hand corner. We do a lot of these, so sometimes when they come back in the front door, people don't remember, who works there, even though we're a small company. I'm making that up. But a barcode can help you to find the document in an ECM system. You see the pre-fill of the requisites, the job offer, the names, the job description as I'm scrolling down. It's full-time up there at the top. Who the HR manager was. Now, the HR manager is really the same every time. However, sometimes HR managers change, and sometimes Wendy's on vacation and somebody substituted in for her. This pre-fill is very important because it's coming from a trusted source, and whoever the department manager is pre-filled there. Now, what doesn't get pre-filled is the starting salary, and since it's a competitive environment, I took Jane's advice. I'm going to offer $60,000, and I need a start date proposal for 3/1/12. Very nice. I'm going to save this document. Okay, now it's still my job. I'm in the middle of my job and all those blocks that you saw, and we'll take a quick look at the scheme to see where we are. Okay, the grays are completed, so you can see it started down the left-hand side, and it's over here for me to make the job offer. So let's X out of this. I've been collaborating with people in my company. Now I need to collaborate with somebody outside of my company. They do not have the same Contera system that I do. However, Contera allows me to right-click on the job offer that I've already reviewed and send it out as an email as a copy. Okay, send it out. Here I am, and I'm like, oh, what in the heck was Gerald's email address, right? All I do is come back into this card, pop it up. I grab this off of his application. Okay, go back. Please consider, blah, 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 and off the email goes. Now, Gerald receives this email, and he reads it, and he has a couple questions, and he ended up calling me back, and I entered it in our CRM system that he called me back. However, he signed it, and he scanned it, and he sent it back to me. So effectively, what I could do is I could import over the top of the job offer if I wanted to as a new version, so I could have the signed PDF, just like you saw for Jane Q Driver, over the top of this original offer. This keeps the integrity or the lineage of the job offer file all in one file. But by completing, I have two options. The applicant has accepted or not. We know this one did, so I indicate that it's accepted. Give the basic view rights. And now that it was accepted, two things happen. First, I need to tell the head of the department that it was accepted so that they can get ready. And second, my HR group needs to be reminded that it's time to prepare for onboarding for Gerald. And if you open that up, you can see it and pop. I want to look at the scheme quickly. Again, I'll be all the way down in the bottom right-hand corner of this, and you can see that this person is ready for onboarding. At Radiotech, we have the same type of process for onboarding that you see here, where it goes through a fairly comprehensive sequence of steps and people, notices and tasks. And we have the same similar process for managing assessments. Okay, so let's X out of this. My first task is then performed rather well. I want to go back and remind myself, it said, Are we doing a good job of managing applicants? Are we doing a good job of getting the department heads involved? I'm interested in your opinions because clearly we think we're organized with our information, we were organized with our process, we were organized with our collaboration. We were doing all of our best practices when we did that. Next task, secondary. He said, the CEO, to me, Wendy, can you help streamline the employee assessment process and help reduce the fines that we're paying due to the audits we're getting on our ambulance drivers when their certificates expire, and it costs $10,000 each time, and I, the CEO, James Smith, am very unhappy about this. So let's see how Wendy can manage this task. Here she is back. We're going to go back to the cover that she's using in the business solution. And Wendy, using the business solution provided by Orienge Cantera, has established employee assessments in terms of categories and employee certifications. Let's take a quick look at the assessments. There's two types of assessments. There can be as many as you want here. A standard employee review that occurs annually and a special annual review for top managers. You can open up the annual review. You can see that it's named, it's got a type, and it has a period of 1 year, and it has an active window that reminded me before. That window then says that period of time before the end of the 1 year, I, Wendy Moore, and others need to be reminded so that we can prepare for or solve a problem before it happens. So we're going to exit out of this. I'm going to look quickly at my certifications. You can see that we're ambulance drivers, so this EMT world is important to us. We've been talking about the EMTB. It's good for 2 years, and we need to be reminded 2 months before. Okay, great. So I and Wendy have set these things up with the help of my system administrator and Cantera developer, and I want to take a look and see, well, how am I doing right now? So let's look at the report. The report comes up from the tools that I have, and I can see the number of employees. And, you know, Dan, you better work on this company because it says 13 heads of departments top loaded. But we're down looking at drivers. So we have 10 drivers who are active with their license, meaning they're in the period of time of the certification's validity, but they're not in the period of time of the action window. But there's one sitting over there that says, oops, there's one that's going to expire. Now, this is great because it's telling me that one is going to expire, but I don't want to have to run this report every single day to see what's going on. The Cantera actually, when it creates those active windows, there's a little agent that watches, and any time that the active windows are penetrated, it actually kicks off workflow. So let's take a look at our inbox, if you don't mind. Okay, and here, before you go into it, it says EMTB certification for Tom Kelly will be expiring. You can see that it went to Tom Kelly, the driver, it went to Jane, the head of department, and it went to me, Wendy. Now, I ask you to work with me because it says it'll expire tomorrow. It would have been 2 months ago, but we created some of this demonstration in the last few days. Okay, great. It gives me time, and I can see this. However, my boss is always asking me about all this stuff, and I'm Wendy, and I went to the system administrator, and I said, can you help me? Can you give me something that will run every day that will quantify how I'm doing on this critical certification validity that the CEO is talking to me about? They said yes. They created a key performance indicator for me. I have the dashboard up down at the bottom there, and you can see in full screen the top left widget is the most important to me. It says how many of my employee certifications have expired? None. How many of my employee certifications are expiring? And in the active window, you see 1. Now I've got this KPI that runs on my dashboard, and it's updated with whatever frequency you want, and you can get a look at this. This is interesting stuff, but what would be better for me is if I didn't have to answer the question for the CEO all the time. So I go back to the system administrator. The system administrator says, no worries. I will add this KPI to the CEO's dashboard. And the CEO, when they log in every day, will be able to watch this without coming and asking you for this data. So what has happened? Now the transparency of this data with access control, because you don't want everybody to see everything, is available to people who are always wanting to know. This is a critical KPI because it's costing, if I'm the CEO, I'm tired of paying $10,000 fines and dinging my reputation because of it. So I want to use an ECM system to help me manage not just information, but people and specific actions and quantifications of some of those actions so that I can, in fact, be not late, not get fined, and keep my reputation higher. And in fact, on top of all of that, maybe be so professional that I obtain new business because I'm so professional. So I'm going to jump back into my PowerPoint and just back up to look at the best practices to remind everybody. You saw that we elegantly populated our data from an external source. You saw that we elegantly pre-filled certain commonly used documents like our offer letter and our assessment report. You saw that we were controlling not just the stages, not just the people, not just the documents. Everything was controlled and then elegantly passed to the next stage. And final, best practice number 3, you saw that we were utilizing collaboration very effectively for control. You saw deadlines and other things happening since we did the demo really fast. Control wasn't an issue, but you saw that we ended up with approval where everybody who was supposed to approve it, read it, see it, and approve it could see it. So it's a very neat solution, and I see that I've gone a little long, so what I'd like to do is stop and see if we can take some questions from people. Okay, so I have a question from Max Robinson. Max, thanks for the question. Let me see if I can get it out here. It says, can we have a report to find out what sources for applicants are more efficient for job posting than others? Yeah, I mean, Max, that would be an awesome KPI. I love the question. We, as you saw, gather the source of the data. In this case, it was our website. It could have been Craigslist. It could have been jobs.com. It could have been a whole number of things. And effectively, you would be able to create KPIs like, can you tell me the total number of applicants I have for a specific job by a source, or give me a breakdown of all the sources for a specific job. You could do a total number of interviews that we conducted from a specific source. And further, you have the ability to collect any information that you want to in that application process at the front, and it's a great time to put structure to some of the data that would otherwise come in and you'd have to via the application process. So that was a good question. Let me see if we have any other questions. Okay, here's a question. What certifications can we manage different from the EMT certifications? Another great question. Great question. The certifications for us is really a simple HR category. Could be licenses, could be credentials, could be other time measured items. You can add as many of these items as you want. You describe them, you give them a term, you give them an action window, and Contera can sit and watch for you and take certain actions based on that credential. Some credentials you would want a subset of people in your organization informed. Some credentials you would want the CEO informed, and so on. So I hope that answers your question. Okay, I see Kylie asking a question. Let's see. We use the simple application form again to demonstrate what is possible. So she's wanting to know if they can use a more comprehensive demonstration application for gathering information. Of course, I mean, clearly you can take a very multi-page document, 4 or 5 pages, ours was 1, and you could structure the XML form and you could collect all the information associated with that. Okay, any more questions? Okay, if not, I'm going to hand it back to Maria, and thank you again for all your time.
Thank you, Dan. I would like to thank everyone for participating. You will be able to find the recording of this webinar on our website tomorrow. We would greatly appreciate any feedback and ideas you may have for us. And if you would like to have the PowerPoint presentation, my contacts are on the screen. Just let me know and I will email it to you. Our webinar is finished and I wish you a successful work week.